Today we're going to be talking about film school. Don't go there. Do not go to film school. I feel very strongly about this, and we're going to be discussing why today. So, this is a huge topic, and I'm probably going to make a lot of videos about this. But I am deliberately wearing my Heart Los Angeles, California t-shirt today because my best education was going to Los Angeles and then starting to make movies and finding other people who make movies and having conversations about good techniques to make movies and being mentored and being a mentor and just collaborating, and you learn so much just by being in that city. That can be your education. I have been to lots of film school and then to accompanying skills that go with the film industry. So across the board, I have found that they have not been good, and I have spent money on things that I could have learned on my own, and especially in this day and age, you do not need it. So let's talk about going to film school. And yeah, I went out in Sedona, Arizona to a film school, 1-year film school. I had already worked professionally in the industry and as a script supervisor and as a director, but I, even though had a lot of experience with photography, I wanted to get better at knowing the dollies and the cranes and the things that I don't typically use in photography. And then also because I would have conversations with my cinematographer and I would rely on them completely when it came to picking how to light things and everything, and it left me a little bit without a dialogue to have with them because I didn't know the equipment or the setups or 3-point lighting, or, well, I did know 3-point lighting, but you get what I'm saying. There are certain, like, let's set up a baby. I don't know what that means, but okay. So that changed in film school. That was a perk. But amidst all of that, it cost me a lot of money that could have gone toward my movie or movies for the tuition. So, and also it was very frustrating because I was working with students and I had already worked professionally. So you will find that if you go to Los Angeles, there are people who, if you're moving there, you're hardcore, you are intense, you really want to do this. If you go to film school, maybe mom and dad made you go to school and you picked film because it would be fun. And I found that a ton. And there were just people there who were totally not committed, not into it, and they probably were like, go to film school, and that's how they made the choice. And meanwhile, I'm like, I can't wait to make reel. I can't wait to work with the best equipment. I can't wait that we have like a whole cage full of great lighting and dollies and and the top of the line stuff. And nobody appreciated that. A few people appreciated that, but very few people appreciated that. So, and as a side note here, when I was doing that particular school, being able to shoot on an HD camera was, and I guess I'm making myself a little bit old here, but like, it was like, oh, I'm shooting on an HD camera, top of the line. I know that's like whatever now, but back then it was a big deal. And that was part of my motivation for going to film school. I'm like, I'll get all this great equipment and my directing reel will be so awesome. And we'll have another conversation about that later. No, we won't. Okay, so also there are factors out of your control because you're following an academic program. So let's say you want to make a movie about a road trip and you end up having to make a movie about a dog, and it's Arizona and it's 100 degrees every day and it's your dog and there's nobody there from the animal protection to be sure, nor is it in your budget to make sure that dog is taken care of, and it's your dog, so you're like, hell no, I'm gonna animate instead. And that's what happened to me because the guy in charge of the school was like, you're making a movie about a dog. Okay. And if I just spent that money on making my own movie, I would have been able to make a real movie instead of an animated movie, which I'm proud of, but at the same time, not what I spent that money for. I spent that money to use their equipment and to get help from a crew that I thought would be enthusiastic. Sorry if it sounds a little bitter, but it is still part of my healing process here from that. Honestly, I have no healing process necessary from Los Angeles because I got to make my own choices. I had a great time in Los Angeles, and I really ended up learning a lot and being professional from the get-go. Awesome. So the other place I went was after that whole film school fiasco, I'm like, well, maybe I should go into post-production. And I ended up doing VFX, VFX school. And again, I spent even more money for that, thinking, oh, I'm learning technology and blah, 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 blah. And when I get out, I'll get this great job. There's no guarantee that you're going to get a great job. And in fact, it put me in Chicago. So my network was in Los Angeles and in New York, and Chicago was just like, so I was networked in with a whole bunch of other students who did not have jobs. So that was a whole hot mess. And also they weren't very nice, because here I am going in as a professional and they're treating people the way they treat 18-year-olds. And the administration was so awful. So I stuck with it. I was like, I'm not a quitter. I'm going to stick with this, which was the wrong choice. And I just said, I'm going to be at the end of this and be ready to go at the end of this, and it didn't happen. I could have spent that movie making a feature. That's how much money I spent on that, and singing my joy every day because I'm making a movie and I'm doing what I love and I'm producing and directing, and instead I squeezed out 2 years in utter pain from this horrible school, and no networking because it was Chicago, and it was just awful, awful, awful. So think about that. You could be making a movie and instead you're forced to do this work. We did some nonprofit work, which is great, but it led to nowhere except a lot of cruelty to the students I experienced myself and other people experienced. And also they did the program backwards, which is a whole other story. Again, not in control of my own program. Now, that was a little bit of a while ago, there were already places to go learn VFX online, which I should have looked into further. But now, and I wasn't actually into VFX, I was into animation, and the remote animation program that I was looking into was the same price as being in person, so I thought being in person would be a better choice. So I did the in-person thing, but it was to quote one of my teachers on the first week of the class, such a clusterfuck, and pardon my language, but he said that to a room full of students, that they were doing it backwards, that, I should have picked the online program, because I didn't end up animating anyway because the animation teacher was such. Anyway, so as a caveat to this whole thing, the one thing I'm going to say is I hear a lot of people who end up getting jobs out of USC and out of NYU. There are a few schools where it is worth it to plunk down that money, because you're going to have your network and it's going to be solid, because the people that attend those schools are networked in. You're in cities that are networked in, and it makes sense. But if you're doing anything besides that, I would say do not do that and spend your money on renting equipment, buying equipment, going to Los Angeles, staying there a year, sell it to your parents like it's an internship, because it feels like it, even if you're not doing anything but making movies and doing your thing all the time, or even going to networking events and helping out on free projects. Seriously, take my advice. I am saving you so much time, so much money, and I'm helping you by saying this. If you take my advice and learn online, take my class, take Dove Simmons' class if you're interested in producing, take Suzanne Lyons' ultra low budget producing class. Seriously, she just came out with it. Take that class, she's awesome. But take classes online and don't spend too much on them. And this is true across the board, not even just for filmmaking. This is true. I was learning coding for a while and I refused to spend more than $500 on a course. And several of those paid courses I ended up returning because they weren't as good as the ones that I spent like $20 on or $80 on. And so don't judge your education by what you paid for it either. And that's all I'm going to say. I will probably have more to say in another video, but I want to infuse that to you because this is so, so important. If you are in a space where you're like, what do I do next? Don't go to film school. Don't. Find other options. Find a mentor. Pay a mentor. It'll cost less and you'll get so much more out of it. Please, trust me. That's all I have to say today. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.